Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kallas and Marks, your host, Joe Staszak, and Steve Kallas. How you doing, Steven?
Well, good, Joe. Great to be with you as always.
You too, man. Getting ready for week two of the NFL season. Um, Green Bay, purported themselves again the other night, Thursday night, against the Commanders. That's the youngest team in the league playing the oldest team in the league. Kind of looked at they were all over Jaden Daniels defensively, and they probably could have. The score, I don't think, even indicated how much of a disparity it was in that game. So after two games, to me, Green Bay looks like a serious contender.
Well, you're 100% right. And they haven't gotten the full Micah Parsons yet, but showed a lot more this week than he did last week, and he showed something last week. So their defense, which was good to begin with, is now going to be really, really tough to deal with. And to me, they're right there at the top with the Eagles, frankly. Now it's only two games for them, but Green Bay's a team to be reckoned with. I really thought Washington could play with them. They were semi in the game, but it wasn't really a game. To me, they got dominated, and gonna have to revise that Washington could go all the way type thing, which we haven't picked yet. Maybe we'll pick them next week, but it won't be Washington. If you had to pick today, you're gonna say Green Bay and the Eagles for the NFC, and you could argue right now that they could win it all because the AFC. I think they have more really good teams, but the Ravens find a way to lose. The Bills find a way to lose. The Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs. Again, we'll see. It's early, as you always say. But the two teams to me that have gone to the top. Now we'll see. It's Eagles Chiefs this weekend. I understand that's the game of the week and should be. But the Eagles manhandled the Chiefs. I just saw the highlights last year of the Super Bowl, and you're like, wow, it really was that bad, unless you're an Eagles fan.
Oh, it was bad. I mean, it was 40-6 with 3 minutes left, and they scored some garbage point. It was bad.
It was a beatdown. You got to worry about is the Chiefs. You figure as long as Mahomes was around, the Chiefs are the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're going to be Super Bowl threatening, and you're not going to say because they got blown out in one Super Bowl after winning the prior two. But don't forget, they also lost early on. This would be the Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Yeah, Brady never got blown out in any Super Bowl. I mean, Mahomes has gotten blown out twice. I'm not,
Yeah.
not
So
taking it down anything Patrick's done, but Brady to me, I mean, winning seven Super Bowls, not even close right now.
100%. But I always went back and said, that was the one when I think he had two, and they lost to the Buccaneers, and so he didn't beat.
That was a big swing.
Yeah, he didn't beat Brady in any big game. He lost to them in the AFC Championship game when Brady was with the Patriots, and he lost to them in the Super Bowl when Brady was with the
Hey,
Buccaneers.
Brady's 3-3 against the Mahomes straight, both regular season, the postseason, but 2-0
Yeah,
in the postseason.
right. That's why even if he got to seven, you'd have to say, well, head to head, 2-0. I thought he'd have to win eight to surpass Brady, and I don't think. I think we've now seen that they're human, especially this first week. I mean, they lost to the Chargers in Brazil. I understand. Apparently, that was a 12-hour flight to get to Brazil, which I didn't know was that far away. But whatever. Um, I think Green Bay and the Eagles are at the top right now. We don't have to really do that after one or two games, but we're going to find out a lot more this weekend. And don't forget the 6 week rule, because to me, that's how many weeks a year.
Sure, but I mean, yeah, we'll find out. Like, it's a regular season game, but the Eagles, listen, the year after they lost to the Chiefs in 2022, they went and they beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, and everyone's like, yeah, the rematch of it's not really a rematch. I mean, I get it. I get you want to hype it up, but there's a lot more at stake in the Super Bowl than these regular season games. But see, I get it. People think, oh, I can't picture Mahomes going. Well, guess what? It's a lot of times you watch a game on a Sunday and go, I can't see this team not covering 2 points against blah blah blah, and then they end up losing
Right.
by 13, you know what I mean, 13. It's the NFL.
I
And there's
think
a
we should.
reason. There's a reason the Chiefs have lost two games in a row and kind of got beat up by the Chargers and got smoked by the Eagles. They're just not as good as they were.
I think that's
Deion
right.
Bush is out for the year, and Worthy's probably not going to play. He dislocated his shoulder when he ran into Jason Kelsey. Jason Kelsey also he came out. It's nice that he has self-awareness. He indicted himself the way he played in the Super Bowl. He indicted himself the way he played against the Chargers. Okay,
Well,
you
he's
can
not
only
quite
throw out
Kelsey.
a couple of
He-
those. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not quite Kelsey. Now he was wide open to run in that touchdown and good for him. But he had two receptions. He's not quite Kelsey. I don't think he's the dominant blocker that he once was.
No,
And but we should mention Love briefly because Love is the wild card for Green Bay. You don't know, under pressure, like most quarterbacks, under pressure, he's not that good. But 19 for 31, 292 yards. I mean, they were throwing the ball around against the Washington defense like Washington had like three guys back
yeah.
instead of five or six. It really, I
Well,
mean, their
show me
guys,
how you do in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, their guys weren't open. They were wide open. It was really
they're
incredible.
fast.
And to Love's credit now, he has 9 games in a row without a pick. That's pretty incredible in today's
Yeah,
NFL. So,
except in the playoffs, they don't count the playoff game where he threw three in
right.
Philly.
Well, you're right. You're right. And in fact, I hate that, including in baseball. When you have these records and they leave out the playoffs, it does seem to be stupid. But they are talking about that as an all-time. I think they tied the all-time Packers record or something like that.
Great. You know, knock yourself out. Show me what you do in January.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So I give Green Bay a lot of credit. I'm very disappointed in Washington. I thought they could make a run, although our guy Zach Ertz played very well. So he's still
Almost
around.
40. Yeah, he did play
He can
very
help
well.
them. Unfortunately, it looks like Eckler has a torn Achilles. I listened this morning. I don't think that's 100% official, but if Eckler's gone, he's a heck of a running back. Um, so, we'll just have to see what happens. But to me, it wasn't a game. Yes, they were close at times. 17-10 is my recollection. But I don't know. Green Bay head and shoulders right now in the NFC with the Eagles. The two of them are head and shoulders, I think, above the pack.
Bills and Jets. Bills 6.5 point favorite over a team that lost on a 60-yard field goal to Aaron Rodgers at home. They played pretty well, gave up a lot of points. The Bills gave up a lot of points too. Like people are, elevating the Bills because they want to know they won that game. But man, that was a miracle win, and they are good. And Josh Allen is great, but that's a lot of points on the road. And I'm still not sure who the Bills are. They gave up a lot of points.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that was a game that to me didn't make the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens ran over the Bills like it was 11 against 8, and then they fumbled late, which was unheard of for them. Otherwise, they would have won. But you got to give Josh Allen a lot of credit. He did it in the playoffs. He did it in week 1. And the Ravens, they might be the most talented team, but they don't come up big in the playoffs. And they didn't come up, you can't blame for Lamar for this loss. He put 40 on the board. Um, but the Bills and the Ravens are going to knock each other out. I don't know if the Chiefs are above them now after watching the first week. We'll see the second week, etc. But the Chiefs aren't quite the Chiefs. They need to get Worthy back. They'll get Rashid Reed. He's coming back, what, after 6 games, I think?
Yeah, he's got 5 more games to serve.
So, when he walks in, that'll be like getting a first round draft pick because he's a speed guy as well. And Worthy's a speed guy, and neither of the two speed guys are playing right now. So that's going to hurt them. And we'll see. Mahomes is still a magician, but it doesn't seem to be quite as good as the Super Bowl years. I'm not saying their days are behind them. I mean, because they made it to the Super Bowl last year for the third time in a row, right? And if they make it this year, which I don't think they will, they'll be the Buffalo Bills. But of course, the Bills were 0-4 when they made it to 4 Super Bowls in a row.
Yeah, they never won one. Let's move on to the Ravens. They lost that game we're talking about. They're 11.5 point favorite over the Browns, who they had a better kicking game. Probably could have beat the Bengals.
I think that's a ton of points, especially early in the year. Um, Flacco's Flacco. He's, okay, maybe slightly better than average. But you're right. I mean, the Bengals were lucky to get out of there with a win, and they did get out of there with a win. But you know how terrible they are the first 2 games of the year. Even though they won this game, you're not walking around and going, oh, they really snapped that skid. They're really good at the beginning. They're starting from the beginning. Having said that, though, I think, that's where all their money is. Burrow to T. Higgins, Burrow, I mean, they got Burrow to Chase. Well, we're going to have to see what happens, but I think they're ready for a explosion of points, is what I'll say. The Bengals I'm talking about. But for the Browns, I don't know. That's a pass game to me. 11 and a half is 11 and a half, I think you said. That's a little high to me. That's the old you're down 18 late and you score a touchdown. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's a lot of points. Bears Lions. Lions need to kind of bounce back from the mess they were against Green Bay. And the Bears, first half they were okay. They looked okay in the first half against Minnesota, and then like Williams started 10 for 10, and then he looked like Caleb Williams of last year, the bad Caleb Williams. You kind of saw two
Uh,
Caleb Williams.
I have to say, I did read that article you sent me, which everybody should read. I don't know if you posted it anywhere, but
Yeah,
boy, he seemed like a real prima donna. What a
right.
joke. Especially given the way he played. I mean, if you walk in and play like Superman, you could be a jerk, but you can't skip these meetings. I mean, I don't know if he's learned now what hard work is. It's really kind of
Well, Ben
stunning.
Johnson's not going to put up with that.
Yeah, well, he shouldn't because that's what you need in the NFL. I don't care how talented you are. And he's talented, but he's not as talented as these other guys. He certainly hasn't shown it yet.
He's got to
But
put
you're
the
right.
work in.
He hit his first 10 passes and then he semi disappeared, I guess. But it was stunning. I just had no idea. And again, you should post that up on one of your websites or even on mine
It's
so
an
people
it's an
can,
eye-opening article.
yeah. So we'll see what happens with them. I think the Lions are going to beat them. Now, the Lions are already being criticized because the Ben Johnson plays, if you will, the trick plays, the intelligent plays, the cross them up plays were not there last week, that's for sure. And again, I thought the Lions could win that game. And of course, I was dead wrong on that one. But again, early in the year, give it 6 weeks. If I was a gambler, which I'm not, I would literally, and you would need great discipline as a gambler to do this. I would wait 6 weeks before I even made a bet.
Which is the right thing to do. That you don't need to make these bets right. You just don't. I mean, I
Correct.
know there's the impulse, and you want to because you think there's money out there. The more information you have, the better you're going to be. And you're right. That 6 week rule is it's right on the money because once you get 6 weeks and you have enough information, I think where you can go from there and make some heady picks.
Yeah.
Um, Rams Titans. This is an interesting one because the Titans. Cam Ward, he played like a rookie, but he wasn't
Yeah.
awful. But then again, Bo Nix didn't play all that great either. And the Broncos won. I know that's a sore spot. I'm sorry. They won by 8. The Titans, sorry.
Oh, we'll get to that when we have picks.
The Titans, there's this number. Now I know it's the 6 week period, but they're a 5.5 point dog against the Rams. And like straight up, like the Rams are. They got Jared Verse and they had that other guy and they got who almost wrecked the Eagles season single-handedly and Matthew Stafford. I like Puka Nakua. 5.5. That doesn't seem like a lot against the Titans. And Cam Ward, I think, at least did some things in terms of reading the defense. Like I could see like he's gonna be a decent, quarterback. But not a good team right now, and only 5.5 to the Rams, who some experts have gone pretty far in the playoffs.
Well, the Titans managed 4 field goals against Denver. Denver has an excellent defense, as you know. And I remember when I picked Denver, um, I was like, how are they going to score? But they scored 4 field goals. But the quarterback, Cam Ward was only, I think it was 12 for 28 for like 113 yards. So yeah, he did some good things, but he was a rookie. They threw him right into the deep water. And the Titans have a good defense, but they don't have as good a defense, I think, as the Bengals have. So as the Broncos have. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of leaning Denver that way, but I don't think I'm going to pick that game. Um, and again, the Titans are good defensively. Don't sleep on their defense, but I still think they have a long way to go.
Um, I mean, I think this is an interesting game. It's a 1 o'clock game. The Steelers at home against the Seahawks. Seahawks lost to the 49ers. By the way, Brock Purdy's not playing this week. Aaron Rodgers threw. I didn't think it was like that didn't surprise me too much. He still has an arm and he still, he can do some things. Put up his numbers weren't horrible with the Jets. Of course, they were down all the time, so he's always throwing.
Right.
But against the Seahawks, who have our boys, Sam Darnold, who again, I'll give him time, but I was never a big Sam Darnold fan, although he won 14. It's kind of interesting. He wins 14 games with the Vikings, and they get rid of him for a rookie who didn't play last year. Just, just I thought
Well,
that's
they
interesting.
probably saved
He did
40.
kind of implode in the last couple of games, although the offensive line did not help him.
They probably saved at least 40 million a year, no?
Yeah, oh yeah. If you can at all costs go with, that's why Green Bay has about five tight ends slash wide receivers who are still under rookie deals. Because Christian Watson's hurt. He'll be back probably in a month. He had that ACL last year. And Jalen Sneed broke his collarbone the other night. They'll both be back, but they have a lot of speed in other areas. And they're paying like these guys nothing. That's if you can do that, man, you are golden. And I'll get to Minnesota in a second, but Steelers at home, are they a different team with Aaron Rodgers? Like,
Well, I take nothing away from Aaron Rodgers. I give him a lot of credit. If you saw him after the game, they said, "Oh, do you think this was a special win or something like that?" And he said, "Well, the Jets essentially said I couldn't play, and so anyone in the Jet organization, I'm glad we beat them today or something." But don't forget one of his passes, and I hate these things. They're touchdown passes. You go back 2 steps, your wide receiver comes around, you flip him the ball forward a
looks
yard.
like the shovel pass. You get credited for a touchdown.
Right. I'm not even knocking that because that's part of the game now, but it's not a touchdown pass that would have been thrown 20 years ago or
There's a
30 years
difference
ago or
between
50
threading a
years.
needle from 40 yards away and woo.
Exactly. But I kind of like the Steelers in that game. Seattle's good, don't get me wrong. Their defense is good, but I think the Steelers now are going to be good. They got over this hump quickly. And again, we're fortunate to win that game, but Boswell comes on and kicks a 60-yarder. I mean, you're like, wow. And we talked about the field goals last week, I think, where apparently it's easier to kick
I think
field
they
goals.
turned the gravity down like late in the game because these balls are just they're just flying.
Yeah, I think the Steelers look. I know Tomlin hasn't won the Super Bowl lately, but they don't even win playoff games, but I still think he's a really good coach. And I think Rodgers has so much to prove in his mind, even though he has nothing to prove. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I think the Steelers are going to be okay, and certainly competitive. I don't think the Jets are so bad, but again, they gave up 32. And Fields played okay. Fields played well. He
Played
can run,
very
he can
well.
throw. So I think the Jets are not as bad as I thought they'd be. But to lose that game was heartbreaking for them. And the Jet fans in New York are walking around. If you're not a Jets fan like me, you just go, "Yeah, it's the Jets." And when we get to baseball, we're going to go, "Yeah, it's the Mets." Um, but that's if you're a New York bias guy like me, a Giants Yankee fan.
All right, one more because this is a game that was a game the other night. I was like, I want to see the quarterbacks. JJ McCarthy. Look, I saw what he did against Michigan with Michigan.
Yeah,
He had one drive to win a title, and he did. He came back, he drove right down the field, and they beat Alabama.
yeah.
Of course, in the Penn State game, didn't throw a pass in the second half and didn't need to. I mean, they just ran the ball. I mean, that might be more of an indictment against Penn State, but he wasn't like a gunslinger at Michigan. But there's so much talk about him, and a competitor, and he rises to the occasion. He wasn't good until the fourth quarter the other night, and then he it clicked a little bit. Now, again, we'll see what happens. It was only a small sample, but it was on the road. They were down big to the Bears, and he did enough to win, and they're 1-0, and now they're home to face the Falcons. I think
Yeah,
Kevin McCarthy's a great coach, especially an offensive guy. And I'm not sure where JJ McCarthy is going to end up in terms of in football lore and how he does in Minnesota. But what did you think in his first time out?
I thought he was terrible until the fourth quarter, but you can argue he was terrible until he didn't have to be, until he had to be really, really good, and then he was really, really good. And don't
Right.
forget, I'm sure you know this, but he beat Penix for the national championship.
Yeah,
Right? 2 years ago, he beat Penix for the national championship. Penix was with Washington, I think, right?
that's correct.
And so, look, the jury's out on JJ McCarthy, but late in the game when he had to do it, now a lot of people say, well, he did it against the Bears, and I don't know what you really expect from the
Hey,
Bears. Supposedly they
hey, the
spent a lot
Chiefs
of
weren't
money.
there, all right. He had to do it against the Bears. You know what I mean?
So we'll see. The jury's out on JJ McCarthy. It was a gutty move, but I'll say it again. They probably said we save 40 million a year, 45 million a year, whatever they're saving. I don't know exactly what what Sam Darnold got in.
That's about right. Sam, he got that's about right. They saved 40 million.
Hey, look, and I guess we did talk about him on Tuesday, but don't forget our guy Daniel Jones, right? He looked like a 40 million a year player.
Daniel Jones to me was the MVP. Should have, if there was an informal MVP, I thought he was great last week.
Right. So I'm on the fence on the Broncos -2.5 at the Colts. I think I'm going to pass on
You know
that game
what? I missed that game. I apologize. Where's that game?
in Indianapolis. I'm going to pass on
Oh,
that
there it is.
game.
It's a
I'm
405 game. Okay.
I'm going to pass on that game only because it looks like the Dolphins are terrible. I don't know if you saw Tyreek Hill
I
during the
can't
game.
believe after last week the Dolphins are a favorite against anybody. They're favored against the Patriots by a point and a half. They had a players only meeting, and I know everyone's killing them, but it's early.
Yep.
I've seen the Giants give up 44 like game three to the Packers, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. Like they were, it was one of those like, oh, the Giants are done after week four, and they win the Super Bowl that year.
You're right.
Eagles after the Tampa game looked like, all right, this is a season where no, they win the Super Bowl last. You know what I mean? It's early. I'm not saying the Dolphins are going to win anything because I think they're soft. I really do. And I'm not sure Mike McDaniel, like to me, they look like a team that was on the rise, but I've seen them play in the playoff. They look, to me, they're soft.
Yep. And on the 49ers, you said no Purdy, and you're right, but there's no Kittle either for a few weeks. And
They're always banged up. I mean, that
I was going to say, and you don't know what's going to happen with McCaffrey. I mean, apparently he's healthy. He played a full game. He had a calf. He played a full game. Um, so I think they're kind of back where they started from. And now Purdy's what? Isn't Purdy like a $50 million a year man now or
he
whatever he
got
is?
paid. Let's put it this way, he got paid. I
As
don't
he
think he's a
should.
$50 million quarterback, but
As he should, I think. But some people are still looking at him as a game manager. I don't think that's true at all. But
well,
no,
you know
No,
what?
no
Let's think
Debo,
about it. What is a
no.
game like? Let's talk. Let's define our terms. I'm okay with a guy who manages a game pretty well. I mean, you know what I mean? I think Jalen Hurts is a pretty good game manager. Like he does enough to win, and he doesn't make mistakes. And sometimes it's the guy who doesn't make dynamic plays all the time. It's the guy who makes the fewest mistakes.
Well, I think you're right. It's viewed to be a negative if you're a game manager, but if you're a
Yeah,
game
like why did that become such a bad thing?
if you're a game manager on the right team, then
On the
you're
right team.
you need.
That's exactly right. All right, well, let's do picks, my friend. I know it's within the 6 week window, but I'll let you go first.
Okay, 1-2 last week. For the record, I did appeal to the Joe Staszak appellate judge, I guess. And I was like, Joe, I love the Broncos during the week. They were -7.5 on Thursday. They were -7.5 on Friday. They were -8.5 on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm watching the game and they're up 20-12. And I'm like, hold it, Joe, Joe. And you're like, yeah, motion denied. Uh,
Denied.
you picked them at 8.5 and you won by 8. So you lose. So I was 1-2 the first week. Well, again, the 6 week rule, I think people should really think about it, especially if they're gamblers. But I like the Steelers at home -3 against Seattle. Um, I don't think it was a fluke against the Jets. The Jets are not a bad team. Their defense is good, not great. Their offense is good, not great. So the Steelers gave up 31. Um, but I think the Steelers now are a different team after that first game because they saw what a lot of people didn't see in Aaron Rodgers, and that is he can still play. He can still throw it. Don't forget, he led the league in pass attempts last year. Why? Because they were always behind. So he got his 4 TD passes. One is one of those shovel passes, as we talked about. But I like the Steelers at home -3 against Seattle. I'm coming right back with Arizona. They were 6.5 point favorites last week, and they won by 7. But I like Arizona at home against Carolina. They're -6.5 again. Carolina still, to me, isn't quite out of the darkness, if you will. So I'll go Arizona at home -6.5. And I'm going to take, and I wonder if this is a Joe Staszak line that you're going to laugh at me for, but I like the Chargers on the road in Las Vegas, -3.5 against the Raiders. I think after what they did to the Chiefs, and I understand the Chiefs right now aren't the Chiefs. We'll find out more when they play the Eagles. But right now they're not the Chiefs, and they don't have their speed guys. Rashid Rice and Xavier is hurt now, Xavier Worthy. And so I'm going to go Chargers minus 3.5. But if anything, I understand it's on the road. I understand Las Vegas is good at home. But I think that's a low. You tell me if that's a Joe Staszak. Why isn't it minus 5.5, for example? And then if it's minus 5.5, of course, you immediately bet the other way. I'm aware of that Joe Staszak rule. So you can talk about that game if you want, but I really like the Chargers.
They look good. I got to be honest. They really look good. The Raiders won, and I thought Geno Smith was good, and I like Pete Carroll. I don't know how he has so much energy at 74.
Unbelievable.
I'm ready to take my third nap of the day at 1:15 on Sundays, and he's, he's coaching games, and God bless him. Um, it's hard to say, like, you know what I mean? Like the Chargers always trip me up because I always think they're going to be good, and I'm always taking them. I take them a lot when they play the Chiefs because the Chiefs rarely cover against them, but they end up winning the game. So, by the way, Patrick Mahomes straight up as a dog is 11-3 against the spread, 12-1-1. So he's
Wow.
pretty good against it. But see, here's the thing, things change. You know what I mean? It's not the same team. I
You're
get
right.
him, and he can do things on his. I get, just watching him against the Chargers. He's doing stuff that's like, wow. He still has a wow factor to him.
Yep.
Um, and I like the fact that he said voluntarily he keeps watching that Super Bowl and learning from it. Where some guys will just, when it's again, some guys when a tape is that bad, they just say, you
Throw
know
it
what, let's
away.
move on.
Yep.
It's tough to watch if you're a Chiefs. It is tough to believe me. There's tapes I haven't seen that are still in the archives of Joe Staszak from many years in Philadelphia that I haven't touched. So good for him. All right. So you recap your three games or what, bro?
Steelers minus 3 at home against Seattle. Arizona minus 6.5 at home against Carolina. Chargers minus 3.5 on the road in Las Vegas.
All right. I listen. I got lucky with that ridiculous game of the century win because Buffalo was getting a point and a half and they were down two. When that field goal when they trot out Matt Prater. Um, but all right, 2-1. I had Frisco. They kind of scored late. That was a weird game. I had Buffalo and I had Detroit, and they got manhandled by Green Bay.
Yep.
Um, Funny, they won 15 games last year. They'll look terrible, but again, it's a different season, different coordinators. Although the Eagles won the Super Bowl with two new coordinators, so you can do it. But this week, never thought the Jets would look good against maybe the best team in the AFC, but they're getting 6.5. I think that's high. I like home dogs. Um, I don't think they'll win the game, but I think they can keep it close. Um, and they have won games like this against Buffalo when Aaron Rodgers got hurt and
Yep.
Allen threw four picks, different Josh Allen. Um, and we'll see what they get from their quarterback. He's one of the greatest running quarterbacks I've ever seen. Um, Still has to work on, some of his accuracy. What's his name? We just talked about the quarterback of the Jets from Ohio State.
Haley.
Thank you. Um, so I'll take the Jets plus the 6.5. I think that's just a high line. I think the Browns are better than people think. And this is I think the 11.5 is like, oh, the Ravens are going to be pissed. Yeah, that's great. Does that mean their defense isn't going to give up a lot of points? 11.5. When you said you could be up 18 and then it could be a garbage touch, that's why it's hard when you lay a lot of points because you're always like in the game, unless it's like, like 50-4. But I'll take the Browns plus the 11.5. If they had a kicker who was, a little bit more steady last week, they beat the Bengals. So
Yep.
I'll take the Browns plus 11.5. And I don't know why I'm taking this game because I'm not sure who the Eagles are yet. I know that Jalen has a very good record again. He doesn't flinch against Mahomes. Outside his rookie year, he's 2-1 against him. Probably deserved maybe a little better fate in the first Super Bowl, though Patrick Mahomes did what he needed to do in the second half. Only he was 15 of 16 in the second half. All right. So one pass he didn't complete. That's pretty good. Even though Jalen had the numbers, which is what Jalen gets criticized for, doesn't get respected for, because he usually doesn't have big numbers, but he wins a lot of games. I'll take the Eagles. I don't think the Chiefs are the Chiefs anymore. And I thought we talked about this in pre-show, and a couple guys, more than one, said from the Chiefs that the Eagles came out and played hard, like they smashed them in the, they punched them in the mouth,
It's them in the mouth.
and the Chiefs didn't have an answer. Well, why didn't the Chiefs come out swinging? Why didn't they come out swinging against the Chargers? Someone else said they kind of dipped their foot in the water against the Chargers. What do we have? Like they're not taking games to the other team. And that's okay. They won three Super Bowls, you know what I mean, in 5 years. Like that's or 7 years. That's impressive. They don't have to
Absolutely.
apologize for anything if this isn't their year. You know what I mean? The Chiefs have proven that Andy and Patrick in that time, tremendous. So like it's okay not to make the play. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to make the playoffs every year, and you're not going to be on top of the world every year. So maybe this isn't their year. I think that there's a reason they've lost two in a row, and you can say that Patrick. It's hard to see him 0-2. By the way, only 11% of the teams who start 0-2 make the playoffs. The Ravens did it last year, but it's rare. Especially, it's even rarer in a 17-game season than a 16-game season. But to start 0-2, it's really tough to make the playoffs. I get it. It's almost like a must-win, but we shall see. So I'll take the Eagles minus the 1.5. I just think they're the better team, and I think there's a reason that they are favorite in Kansas City on Sunday. All right, talk a little baseball real quick.
Yeah, just quickly, want to talk briefly about Aaron Rodgers, who not only passed Yogi Berra last week in lifetime Yankee homers, but also passed Joe DiMaggio. Um, Yesterday. He hit his 362nd homer. Joe DiMaggio had 361. You know how I am about the old timers. Yankee Stadium, when I was a little kid, Yankee Stadium center field, left center field was 457 feet, 461 feet. When they redid the stadium, I think it was in the 70s, left center field in Yankee Stadium is now 399, and they still call it Death Valley. Now it's Death Valley when it's 467. And I can take nothing away from Judge, great player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's got 362 home runs, not even in 10 years yet. And that's counting his first year when he, played like 28 games or something. But, the Yankees are still chasing. They did beat the Red Sox last night, but the Yankees are three behind the Blue Jays, who are the best team in the AL East. Um, and I thought it was fitting. Now, the Phillies have destroyed the Mets now. The Phillies, I don't know if they're up 10 games or 11 games, but the Phillies manhandled the Mets on Wednesday, beat them 11-3. Harper hit his 25th homer. You probably know this, seventh time he's hit 25 or more. The Mets have now lost seven in a row. They're like, I think, 4 or 5 games over. They're 4 games over 500. All that money, Soto 750 million, who's having a good, don't get me wrong, he's having a good year now. He wasn't much at the beginning. And I thought it was fitting that last night the Rangers beat the Mets 8-3, and the winning pitcher was Jacob
Jacob
deGrom.
deGrom.
He has made a nice comeback this year. He's 12-7. He was lights out earlier. People were talking about him for the Cy Young. He's fallen off a bit, but he's 12-7. They played a nice little thing, which was touching. He played 9 years for the Mets. I mean, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer necessarily, but he has Hall of Fame talent. I will say that. And just one more, I got an interesting thing on the Astros. Had a rookie come up for his first game ever. Zach Cole came up from Double A. I think he played 2 weeks in Triple A. They brought him up. The first pitch he saw as a major leaguer, 423-foot home run to center field. He went 3 for 4 with a homer and 4 RBIs. Astros crushed the Braves. The Braves, of course, had that horrific start, and they've never been able to come back. The Astros are 80-68, so they're tied with the Mariners for first place in the AL West. Um, and that's really pretty much all I have. The Blue Jays are the best team in the NFC, in the AL East. They've got 3 games on the Yankees, and I think it's like 5 on the Red Sox. I don't know if that's going to change or not because they just seem to be better than those two teams. Um, and that's really all I got in baseball now. I will say one more about Aroldis Chapman, who was like a throwaway by the Yankees after getting paid stupid money. He didn't give up a hit or a run since July 23rd. He faced 50 batters without giving up a hit, and now he gave up a double on Wednesday against the A's of all people. And in the A's game, Nick Curtis, who had 4 home runs in the game, rookie, he hit his 30th, and Landalaria hit his 30th. Uh, both those guys for the hopeless Athletics, unfortunately for the Athletics. But they got a couple of guys who hit 30 home runs this year. Maybe they can make some noise, but it's unlikely next year.
Yeah, and the Phillies, they're 8-2 in their last 10. They're 12 games up on the Mets right now. And
12 now. Yeah.
if magic number's three, okay, that's not a race anymore, but Vegas has them as the favorite now to win the World Series. Like again, that's overreactionary because they went on a streak and still don't have Zach Wheeler, and we'll see what happens. This is what they do. They go on these. They're streaky. So
Yep.
I'm not, I'm not. Nothing moves the needle until I see how they do in the playoffs. But they do have six more wins than the Dodgers this year, which is interesting because the Dodgers have, like a $700 billion payroll.
You
They
ain't
have
kidding.
they're a couple games up on the Padres, 2.5 games. So still, what is it, September 13th? Still some time to play, but gonna be interesting as we head on into October, my man. Good
Yep.
stuff. You can catch Steve's stuff on his daily Facebook forum page, Speaking of Sports with Steve Kallas. His videos on westchestercountypost.com. This podcast on YouTube and all the audio outlets. And you can follow me on Twitter at JoeStaszak4799 or on X at JoeStaszak975. Good stuff, my man. I'll be texting you throughout the day and throughout the weekend, and we'll recap on Tuesday morning.
Always a pleasure, Joe.
You too, bud. Appreciate it. And folks, thanks as always, and we'll talk to you next time.